Cristiano believes he's the most complete footballer in the history of the game. And the question we are asking today, where do you think he ranks amongst the greatest that have ever played the game of football? He later came out and said that he does not care whether you feel that Pele, may he so rest in eternal peace, is the greatest in your opinion, whether it is Maradona or Lionel Messi. In his opinion, he is the most complete footballer that has ever lived. Very soon, he will be turning 40, and as we speak, he has scored a total of 923 goals, meaning he is only 77 goals away from making it 1,000. And the beauty about it, he said that the moment he clocks 1,000 goals, he has all the evidence to prove that he has scored 1,000 goals. I don't know who he was trying to have a dig at, but of course, that is going to be the discussion we are having today. Clive Chaze is my name, and yes, welcome to our YouTube channel, CK Sports, where we discuss different trending topics in sport. A big thank you to whoever subscribed already. If you are yet to subscribe, we encourage you to subscribe, but also we do appreciate all those who like, who comment, and share our comments. I won't be having this discussion alone today. I am joined by Ismail Dakava Chigongo, the head of sports here at the Nation Media Group, where we are coming to you wherever you are watching us from. Ismail, first of all, I don't think it still qualifies to say Happy New Year, but greetings and thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year, Clive, and congratulations on the work you're doing on CK Sports. I am a subscriber,
thank you very much.
I watch a lot of the content. Recently, you did one, I think, about AFCON. I think it has the most number of views of all the topics you've done. Yeah, of the topics you've done lately.
Actually, the stories about the stadiums have the most number of views.
Yeah,
people want to know what is happening out there.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that. The visit to Talanta, Sports City in Kenya. Then the stories you did, the one about Nambol. I think you're the first one to show us the synthetic pitch, the hybrid of a synthetic and the natural grass. Yeah, so congratulations on the work you're doing. Hopefully it's life-changing, because in the interim, it's media changing, because this is not the landscape of media that you and I joined all those several years ago. It's become a lot different. So people like you have embraced a lot of digital media. I think
it's the new media.
It's a new media, and I think in a few years you're going to give us jobs. Hopefully our opinions will still be valid, and hopefully will still be available.
The opinions keep on changing, so the opinions at the time then will be valid to the times and trends around that time.
Yeah. So as you do your new media, I also run a very astute business of perfumes. So what better place
we
to...
are yet to know that. You should tell us about the perfumes.
Yeah, I do.
And where to find them.
I do sell perfumes. People call them a side hustle, but when in Uganda everything is a side hustle.
By the way.
Your real job is a side hustle. Your family is a side hustle. So yeah, I do sell perfumes.
Is a girlfriend a side hustle or a full-time job? Because relationships in Uganda
can also be very difficult. We are opening right opposite St. Peter's SS Nalia as you slope down to the Nyala neighborhood.
It's like you want me to be your
your
priority customer, because that's exactly where I stay.
Sweet Scents are the best perfumes at designer perfumes on the market. Tom Ford, Givenchy.
Which countries are the origins of them?
Most of them, my distributor is in Turkey. I'm hoping to set up a link with someone in Dubai over the next few weeks.
And Egypt, please.
Yeah. Eventually, the Arabic perfumes too. But fairly good start. I also want to send greetings to my first customer, Jerome Mugalu.
Okay, already?
Yeah, he was my first customer to buy a perfume, and I think he did it because he's my friend. Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm only getting to know about it now, and I know it's not related to the topic that we are but
we are also discussing someone who sells perfumes.
Exactly. But I'm just intrigued to ask that where exactly now, because when you mentioned St. Peter's, I know that
right opposite the gate. St. Peter's SS.
Before Samito. After the market.
After the market, there is that place. So that should be the place. I also work with a colleague of mine called Raj. There's a second shop at Parkview, Mini Price.
Okay, downtown Kampala.
Yeah, downtown Kampala, right at Mini Price. So over the next weeks, it will even look much better. When Clive pays us for this program, we'll be able to open in Kansanga on this route.
In different parts of town or even the country.
Yeah, that's a grand plan. That's a grand plan. Yeah.
No, actually, without a doubt, because when you tell me the location of your shop in Nada is a walking distance from where I stay, so one of those Sundays or even weekends, I should be able to pass by. But Ismail, the topic of the day, probably before we go in and all that, the statements by Cristiano Ronaldo, him saying that he is the most complete footballer in history. He does not care the different opinions of different people. He believes he is the most complete. Before we even talk statistics.
I think one of the things you've got to give Ronaldo credit for is, first of all, faith in himself, belief in himself. Even if you may have an axe to grind with him, he's not my favorite. Never been, not even close. But the belief he has in his ability is something that stretches way beyond sport. Initially, I read the interviews, because it was released in parts. The one that is given about complete footballer, then it talks about never having a dream of coaching. He repeats the thing about how he wants to own a football club. Eventually, he gives Messi his flowers as describing him as a great, but then says he's the most complete. It's actually very difficult to find someone as complete. At least I've been able to watch and interpret the game for a large period of 30 years. And it's very, very difficult to find that in the last 30 years I perhaps watched someone more competent. And I think one of the things that Ronaldo cites in that interview, he talks about his ability to kick with his left foot and his right foot and head the ball. And I think that's the one thing that he picks out. Then he talks about the numbers. Even way before he reached these numbers,
about the three aspects, because at the end of the day, they are the most important. Scoring a goal is the most important thing in 90 minutes.
Sure.
And if somebody can comfortably do it with the right, the left, and the head, then...
And I think also the complete, besides even the goal, I think the aspects that people are looking out for someone being complete, besides the scoring with the three parts of the body that are legitimate, is his ability to pass the ball, his ability to run, because also these days the game is very, very fast. Okay, slowed down, but at his peak we all knew he was one of the fastest players in that Madrid team. We also talk about the ability to press, because this is very important. Then to track back and help. Maybe it's one element that we've not noticed.
Also, when you look at his numbers in terms of assists, they're not very bad numbers. They're actually impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, not at the level of people who do it way better than him, but at least the numbers are decent.
It wouldn't look like someone who only takes corners, because there are people with whom you find numbers. I would give an example like Frank Lampard. Not the best pass of the ball, but he had assists because he used to take the corners. So the numbers are there. And not that Ronaldo was taking corners, because sometimes
he was horrible at them.
He was horrible at them. So he decided to hone his skill as a head of the ball. So I think the statement is valid, because I'm even struggling to find a player who I would compare. Maybe the closest I've seen, and has not even done it for a very long period of time, like Ronaldo, could be Sadio Mane. Yeah, he can kick with his left comfortably. His right, I don't even know whether many people even know what is Mane's stronger foot, and Mane is his teammate at Al Nassr. Who are the others? Steven Gerrard, but not good with his left. But I'm talking about when you talk complete,
they would improvise. Lampard would improvise.
He would improvise. At least what you'd look at in Gerrard is ability to defend, because he could go back and throw in the tackle, then play the pass, then shoot at goal, make the run. Is one of the best passers of the ball I think we've seen post 2000. I cannot. There are not too many.
Yeah, because when you bring in the elements of the goals, which is the most important bit of a football game, there is a season where he actually scored over 42 goals.
Yeah.
And his coach at the time, Zinedine Zidane, showered him with a lot of praise. He said he scored 42 goals as a winger. Just to remind you, I scored 42 goals my entire career.
Yeah.
A person who played in the middle, probably closer to the goal and other areas where Gerrard and Lampard made their own because and Paul Scholes, because they had that ability to shoot at goal. But also the fact that he has scored so many of these goals. We are talking about 923, not necessarily playing as a centre forward, but as a winger who tries to create space for himself.
Maybe these days reinvented as a forward, because when you say winger and you're talking to a certain generation, we'll probably say
forward.
Because we might see that as a Vincent Kaizi or David Beckham
Joseph
or
Kavagambe.
Ryan Giggs or Joseph Kavagambe, or you go back, even if you want to ruin the debate, even include players like Jermaine Pena. But I because the wing position was reinvented to mean forward, they were given a lot of license to come into the box.
I think everyone who plays in the final third
was
now described as a forward.
As a forward in whatever, because the game has moved away from the old number 9s. And one of the things, because Ronaldo, I think, besides the belief, he has always craved attention. And many people involved with the game, the coaches, the greats of the game, who describe themselves as purists, have resisted, for 20 years of his career, to include him in the debate of people who play the game in the way that is described as beautiful. Those who watched Diego Maradona, I was lucky to meet a gentleman, Keith Hackett, former referee in the Premiership, I think in the 80s, and in the early 90s when the Premier League had just started. He came here for one of those British Council football skills clinics, and we had a chance to steal an interview and ask Keith Hackett several years ago about the best footballers he had been part of, and he said he enjoyed refereeing a game where he had Maradona, on the other side. So there's a brand of purists who watched Socrates, who watched all these Brazilians, the Zicos, Maradona, the Mario Kempes, who have resisted, because over time, when we first watched Ronaldo, 2004, I think many of us, 2003 actually, when he first joined Manchester United, he had the ability to take on and beat a player.
Exactly,
especially in that debut for United against Bolton. We saw that going at the Bolton defense. But then later on in his career, he discovered that maybe that was not what his game was going to going to be built on. So he varied his game and became more of a scorer. The guy you demand and tell him, go get me a goal, and he'll go there and find it.
He decided to perfect other things like heading the ball, free kicks, and all that.
And forgot about the dribbling. Not that he can no longer beat a player. Okay, maybe now he can't. And maybe right now he's playing the game for the numbers entirely. In that interview, actually, he stated that he gets tired being asked about the numbers, the goals he scored, the number of goals he scored.
About the transition, sorry to ask, do you think if he was Brazilian with his abilities and the same hunger, would he have transitioned into the player he is now, or he would have stuck to what he grew up knowing to do if he was Brazilian?
Can you be Brazilian and have hunger? Those two things do not.
Let's just hope he did have the hunger.
I think because of the culture, I think football is largely about the culture of the place you come from. That's why countries like Uganda struggle, because we have no culture of how the game is played. The culture in Brazil would force him to remain the Ronaldo we watched against Bolton in 2003, because the game in Brazil demands something different. You must be able to do step overs, entertain people. That's why for all the inadequacies of Neymar's career, he's still regarded as one of the best players to come out of Brazil, because he plays football the right way, the way Brazilians want it to be played. I think if he was Brazilian, no, he wouldn't have transitioned into the player he became. He would remain with a lot of the step overs, a lot of the fancy things. Maybe there will be as much oil in his hair as there is currently, because his hair really looks very nice in the way that would audiences would like it to look. So there are things about Brazilian culture for me that will never change.
But of course, we get to talk about the goals. He has a long way to go. Okay, if he has scored 923 goals already, you can't say he has a long way to go to 1,000 with only 77 goals in sight for him. If he eventually gets to that mark, in your own opinion, where will that put him as one of the people who have played the game. So many people don't want to put him in that discussion because of one simple reason. He has not won the World Cup.
Yeah.
The other people who are on that list, or the top 4, whatever, and they have a World Cup to his name. He doesn't have it, and probably will never have it. He has a Euros, he has a Nations League, but people think that is not good enough for him to be up there with the rest who have played the game. But the moment he gets to that 1,000 goal mark, where do you think that will place him?
Over time, his biggest rival, Lionel Messi, was always disparaged for having never won the World Cup. And I always feel that after that victory in Qatar, the arguments against Messi's greatness, I think, have got to reduce because he actually did not just, he wasn't just part of a band. He won Argentina the World Cup because it was exceptional in that tournament. But I do not believe that everyone is destined. You're only lucky to win one World Cup in your life. If
Pele
you're
was lucky to win 3.
3, not lucky. He was exceptional to win, exceptional to win 3, but you're lucky to win 1. And Pele was lucky to win the World Cup in 1958. Actually, if you read the history of that, that's the first time Brazil played black players in their national team, and a young 17-year Pele.
Everyone is wondering what he's doing.
What is he doing on the pitch? And then he goes there and wins. So it's always been a dampener. However, when most of the people who have been in the game very long list the greatest players they've watched, they'll say Maradona, they'll say Pele, they'll throw in Johan Cruyff, never won the World Cup. They will throw in Eusebio, my late dad's favorite footballer, because he came out of Mozambique and did well for Portugal. Got Portugal to the semi-finals of the World Cup in 1966. Eventually, they finished 3rd. Eusebio did not win the World Cup. Neither did
Johan
Cruyff. The other maybe is Franz Beckenbauer, the German legend. He won the World Cup as a player and as a coach. Because there's a distinct group of names that will appear for a certain generation. Now, the thing is that when Cristiano Ronaldo has the statistics and is going to be the greatest scorer in the history of the game, and that cannot be contested, considering that Romario's goals already contested. FIFA deny that he scored the 1,000.
No, they acknowledge Pele did get to the 1,000 mark.
Yes, they do. Then remember when Messi had that 92 goal year, there was an argument from Zambia about Chitalu, Geoffrey Chitalu.
Exactly. Whose record has never been recognized.
Yeah, never recognized by FIFA because there is no video. But the Zambians at least know is the greatest scorer they've seen. When Ronaldo becomes the greatest scorer the world has seen, surely for me, he walks into the top 5 who have played the game ever. Because even for all these ones that we have listed, one thing that will come out when someone mentions Pele, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? He won 3 World Cups. When they mention Pele, when they mention Maradona, won Argentina the World Cup in 1986.
But also the way he played the game.
The way he played the game. And maybe people will say, perhaps scored the greatest goal in the history of the game against England in the quarterfinals in 1986. Not the hand of God, but the other one.
Second, actually.
The second. Was
it the first or the second?
The first one in that game, yeah, when he went past as many as 9 England players to score that goal. Then, Johan Cruyff, people will say he reinvented the way the game was played.
How he played, but then also later how he
coached the game. Now, how can then the greatest scorer of the game not belong to that? Because all of them have one single argument. Yeah, people will mention Messi, and then the argument will be he's the greatest dribbler. Maybe we've seen for a certain generation that we've seen in the game. Then the next thing will be he also won the World Cup for Argentina. Then the greatest scorer in the game has got to be there. Ronaldo has got to get into that, and it's taken. And you know, one of the things that whenever you're presented with new facts, you should be able to change your argument. Because previously, I was one of those who felt while Ronaldo was the second best player in the world at the time when Messi was at the peak of his powers, I thought Ronaldo was a distant second. And I'll still make an argument that is a distant second. And first of all, because I'm biased, I support Argentina. And I want Argentina to win every tournament, Mbuzi Cup, Interclass.
You want Messi to shine at every tournament.
Argentina,
Cup,
by the way.
By
the to the extent that I support Argentina so much that I do not mind Garnacho doing well, or Lisandro Martinez, that I want them to do so well and score 4 goals, then United concede 7. Yeah? And when they've conceded 7, Lisandro Martinez has cleared like 10 off the line. That gives me a lot of... I want Enzo Fernandez to do well. I want every Argentina player to do well, because that then feeds into what Argentina becomes, beyond even Messi. But I used to always think that because of the beauty of how Messi played the game, and that beauty also came with numbers, at some point at Barcelona.
Exactly. He matched Cristiano with the numbers, but also...
He was beautiful on the eye. He made your eye tweak every time. There was a twinkle in your eye whenever you saw Messi play the game. I always felt Ronaldo was a distant second. But if the numbers continue in the direction they are going, and perhaps he took a very good decision to go to Saudi Arabia, he continues to score goals, then makes as much money. The kind that 4 generations of the Ronaldos will not need to go to work. Yeah, they don't need to sell any perfume, open any YouTube channels.
Now, I mean, I usually see a quote. I think it's an interview he did with Rio Ferdinand, where he says, "I grew up with nothing and I wanted everything." And he gave the example of Cristiano Jr. that he has grown up with everything.
Yeah,
2 different generations. One grew up wanting everything that he didn't have. This one has grown up with everything that he needs.
And the good thing I think with Ronaldo, he's repositioned himself way beyond the football. That you don't need to know the game to know the person that Ronaldo is and the commercial value that he's created. Man. I was reading a story, and I was really interested in a boy called David Beckham, little known for some. And David Beckham is regarded as the person who commercialized the brand that football is. But even some British media make an argument that it's because David Beckham went and dated a girl in the Spice Girls, Victoria. Yeah. Spice Girls, by the way, is my favorite girls band. There's a girl who accuses me of being feminine by choosing a girl band to be one of my favorites, because I love their music. But because at the time when David Beckham starts gaining the stardom, and this is around 1996-97, footballers did not have that brand value. Then he interacts with a musician who takes him into her world where they had already started building brands of musicians, and then he understands and uses that. Yes,
you believe that that is what probably the direction that made David Beckham the person that he was off the pitch. But also when you listen to the different interviews, especially with people who grew up with him, he's a boy who always wanted...
the Nevels.
The Nevels. He always wanted to look nice. Yeah. He always wanted to wear nice designer clothes, the latest watches. When he got money to buy the car, he always wanted to own the Porsche,
the Ferrari.
So you don't know whether probably the relationship with, if it wasn't for Victoria, probably he would have turned out the way he did. But when you listen to those who grew up with him, he was always
maybe not Clive, because you guys don't know what Spice Girls were. You guys don't know. At least my elder sisters, one is since deceased. When I was young, at least I saw them write lyrics in books. Yeah, and that's how I got to understand Spice Girls. And then there's Capital FM.
By the way, I never knew them until when we got to know that David Beckham is dating a musician who's a Spice Girl. My knowledge of them was through David Beckham.
Because I want to bring that story into Ronaldo. Because when Beckham dates a musician, the things about brands and clothing lines and perfumes was already huge in the music world. That someone would wake up and buy a bra that is branded Spice at the time. Of course, there is no relation to one of the magazines that was in Uganda at the time, Spice, edited by my friend Edmond Chizito, who was since who was since transitioned into speaking from the book of the Old Testament as New Testament. So when Beckham gets into that world, he gets to understand what actually you can transform from just scoring free kicks and that goal from behind the center line against Wimbledon and become a brand yourself. Now, thereafter, people like Jorge Mendes, when they get into someone who admires the same kind of pathway and they meet Ronaldo, they convince him that he can actually do this. So one of the things that is done beyond the numbers, beyond the goals, beyond the titles, we can talk about most goals in the Champions League, most appearances for Portugal and for the national team in the history of the game. All these things, probably most headed goals more than Oliver Bierhoff and Gerd Müller and some of the greatest headers of ball in Miroslav Klose. he understood how to get out of the space that is only within the four lines and push the agenda, his own and football's, into spaces where it wouldn't. That's why if they several years ago when I used to sneak a minute of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Kim Kardashian would always mention Ronaldo when he's talk about sports.
I mean, today she's a big fan of Jude Bellingham.
Yeah. Okay, that never ends well. But even if that happened, I think he's taken the game to a place where no one had. And
Is he the most followed human being on social media?
It should be. I remember seeing a bit of the numbers.
Then the most followed athlete, but should be most followed human being on social media.
Would you allow me to
It's okay. Because his numbers in total accumulate to over 1 billion followers on all his social media pages combined.
Because I remember the day, and Twagala subscription, by the way. We want subscribers.
To Kurenga Cristiano
Ronaldo,
His YouTube channel is not yet a year, but he has 73 million subscribers.
I remember on the day that YouTube channel opened, I was somewhere in Bugorobi, at Village Mall. So I picked an interest from a group. Someone posted that Ronaldo has opened a YouTube channel today. Let's see how many numbers he gets in a day. I think
he had 1 million in 90 minutes.
Yeah. I remember in a day, it was almost touching 3 million in one single day. I would imagine if CK Sports gets 2 million in a year, would be very happy. We still praise
we don't need 73 from Ronaldo.
We don't need
even 1 million.
Even 1 million would be sufficient because, for example, the most watched music video in the history of Uganda, I was learning from our colleague Andrew Kagwa, is City Rose, by Eddie Kenzo, and the numbers are not even 73 million. And yet, for example, in this region, the artist with the biggest YouTube following is Diamond Platnumz. He puts up a song, and within a year he has anywhere around 100 million.
And here we have a footballer, still an active footballer, in the same space, just like the entertainers.
He's not singing, and that YouTube channel has videos of him in the gym, doing his ice bath, his family, his model girlfriend Georgina.
I think the longest interview he did with Rio Ferdinand. All the others are short, 8 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute.
But I think he's given his friend Piers Morgan, the British journalist, some lengthy one.
Yeah, no, I mean on his channel, like a video on the longest video uploaded on his channel.
I would imagine how much you have to pay for a 20-second ad. Considering this is, for example, Super Bowl week in the US, American football. And normally we get these figures. A 30-second ad at Super Bowl may cost you $2.5 million. Cristiano Ronaldo ably competes with the Super Bowl.
I mean, there was a time, not recently, when still Mohamed Salah was the in thing as a footballer, both in Europe, Liverpool, and in Egypt. And one of, I would equate them to the roofings, that the one we have in Uganda, a company that does the same kind of work in Egypt. And they were using Cristiano Ronaldo for endorsements. Yet they have a star as big as Mohamed Salah, but they feel the brand of Ronaldo is the one that will positively impact their brand better. And Ronaldo would post these videos on his Instagram, and the video has over 80 million views or stuff like that.
And maybe someone listening to us may be thinking, Clive has meandered from where we started. But it's also impossible and perhaps foolhardy to discuss Ronaldo and his journey to be the greatest footballer, and you don't discuss the brand value.
Exactly.
Because sport today needs a bit of an X factor. You know why people still regard Michael Jordan as the greatest? He's not the greatest scorer. He doesn't have more titles than Bill Russell. Bill Russell won 11. He won 6. There are people who have won as many regular season MVP titles. But people will always say Michael Jordan made the NBA a global brand.
And because of that,
makes him the greatest. That's why there's a video that I like from the 1992 Olympics against Lithuania, where one of the players from the Lithuanian team has a small camera and decides to record what Michael Jordan is doing throughout the game, So whenever
you're supposed to come on court to
compete,
play, but because you're on the bench, you decide to get your camera out
and record. And these cameras were not like these days we have phones. We've seen a video of Kevin Durant this week.
And on the same team, you have people like Larry Bird, you have people like Magic Johnson, and all these others.
All these other superstars, Isaiah Thomas, but then you're recording with Michael Jordan. So there is something about someone who takes football or takes sport out of its confines and takes it to places where many people would not have cared. And so when you're debating what Ronaldo has done for the game of football, it's very, very important to include the commercial value that he's created. That's why maybe FIFA would wish that Al Nassr and Inter Miami meet at the FIFA Club World Cup. They would wish that at some point Ronaldo and Messi meet at the World Cup in 2026.
There's a story moving around. I don't know how true it is because the opening game of the FIFA Club World Cup is between Inter Miami and Al Ahly. Now there's a story moving around. Okay, it has now died, but it moved around that there is a possibility of Al Ahly signing Ronaldo on loan for the FIFA Club World Cup.
That would be wrong.
We don't know how true that is, but it's something I saw on the socials that there was a consideration of...
Considering UEFA failed to achieve that, even by the times when the draw was made and
the Champions League,
Barcelona and Madrid were supposed to meet, then that cowboy, Robert Lewandowski, went and scored 4 against Real Madrid, knocked them out. So the meeting did not happen.
Well, they met at Wembley in 2006, 2009.
Yeah.
Though that didn't go well.
That didn't go well for Ronaldo. But there's a time when Barcelona and Real Madrid needed just that one meeting in Europe because they had met in the La Liga. And remember, many people have had access to television for longer than others, and I've been lucky to have access to television longer than other people. I remember watching El Clásicos earlier, before Ronaldo and Messi. They were just games. They were just ordinary games in the league. Okay, 2 teams with a very shared political history. Barcelona hate the people who roll in Madrid and all because the politics is very important. And then they've had some of the best players. When you think about Romario on this side, then you think about Emilio Butragueno on the other, Di Stefano and Ferenc Puskas on one side. Then you think about Johan Cruyff on the other side. And that rivalry was there. However, I thought the El Clásico was elevated and sold as a meeting of 2 of the best footballers in the world at the time, and arguably 2 of the greatest footballers of all time. Now, those kind of contributions to the game supersede every tap-in you'll accuse Ronaldo of scoring, every penalty you'll accuse him of scoring, and his inability to score a goal where he's beaten 5-6 players like his compatriot Messi did.
Well, it's very unfortunate that I spent 3 weeks in Qatar and I never had an opportunity to watch a Messi play. The only time I had that opportunity was in the final, but getting to the stadium became very hard, and I decided that I won't be part of whatever might happen that is not. I was very scared, but I had the opportunity to watch Ronaldo play in that should have been the round of 16 or something, the game they played against Switzerland. And I want to believe that I had the best seat in that stadium. No, it wasn't Lusail, but I had the best seat in the stadium thanks to Karusha Balala of Super Sport, because I was seat number 15 on the first row of the route that leads into the tunnel. I was with our colleague Dian Bagala, who was at seat number 16. Now, teams are out of the tunnel. Ronaldo is on the bench for that game. It is time for the national anthems and all that. And you know how photographers are always taking pictures. And I can't say 95% of the photographers who were on the side of Portugal were all facing the bench during the national anthems, taking pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, you have 11 people out there, but everyone is facing the bench taking pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo. And after 10 or something minutes, somebody would just start and the entire stadium is screaming the name of Cristiano Ronaldo because they want him to come on and play. The moment he stood up to go and warm up, the whole stadium.
It was like kickoff of another game.
It was kickoff for someone that scored the winning goal in the fight. Like, he just stood up to go and warm up, and the entire stadium erupted. Like, even you're not sure whether he stood up, but because people are making noise, you turn around and it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, it was the first time I experienced anything like that of a normal human being. And for me, that moment, I realized that actually most of these guys are not just human beings, but something else.
Can you imagine in a country that understands sport more than everyone else, like the USA, what Taylor Swift and her husband of the Kansas City Chiefs, James Kelce, Jason Kelce, what they have to go through every time. Yeah, you can imagine. Yeah, and of course, these days they use Taylor Swift to promote the NFL almost. Now you can imagine Ronaldo has had to live through that
for the last 20 years or so.
Maybe not the entire 20. When he first came to United, he was
an instant star when he came to United. Yeah, a kid, but somebody who had an instant impact with the way he played.
Yeah, in that game against Bolton, then thereafter, I think over time when he started chasing the numbers.
Remember his unveiling at Madrid. The stadium was full to capacity.
Yeah. And you know, Madrid has one of Madrid unveilings have a history of being that important. Kaká was unveiled, I remember, in front of 50,000.
They actually wanted to join the unveilings, and Ronaldo declined. He wanted this moment alone.
Yeah. So, and you know, they've unveiled a player before in January called Julian Fobe. He came from West Ham, and there were 7 people. At his unveiling, one of those was his mother. So it says a lot about the difference in because and I really like that some of these professional footballers understand this thing that you can be part of a team, you're not less important, but there's Ronaldo. You can be part of a team and you're doing a fantastic job, but there's Mohamed Salah. So you've got to understand your position in that team. I think this is something that people like Makelele understood. That's why there was that thing of unsung hero. These days
at Madrid, especially.
Yeah, at Madrid. These days, I think defensive midfielders are more recognized than they were when Makelele was playing with the Galacticos, because when you're in a team that has Zidane, Ronaldo, Dalima, and all these guys, you've got to understand it, but you're not less important. Sometimes I feel it's very difficult for some players to understand that you might be very, very good and very important to the team, but the team has LeBron James. Yeah, and you've had the chance to experience LeBron James at the Olympics. And it's a lot different. But all these guys, Steph Curry is probably the greatest three-point shooter. Kevin Durant is probably the greatest scorer in the history of the game. Then there's LeBron. So you've got to understand, Jason Tatum is probably the best player in the league currently and is an NBA champion with the Celtics, but the team has LeBron James. So you've got to understand your position. Now, I really think that some of the players within the Portugal team understood that. The Pepes, the Bernardo Silvas, they know that there has to be a place for Ronaldo.
I think somebody who is struggling to accept that is Bruno Fernandes, but he has no choice. He just needs to find a way of fitting in. But Isma, as we wind up, of course, it is a discussion that we've had for the last 30 minutes or so, and we've not even discussed the individual awards Cristiano Ronaldo has won. Of course, is it 5 Ballon d'Ors, at Messi's 8, and all that the Champions League titles he has won 5 or 4 with Real Madrid, then 1 at Manchester United, 2 titles with Portugal and stuff like that. That you feel that when he eventually gets to the 1,000 mark, you don't know whether he will continue or the hunger will die out. Like Pep says about Messi, that at the moment he won the World Cup, the hunger to compete died out. The reason he decided to go to the MLS just to enjoy football.
No, I don't think it will die. Ronaldo is some sort of beast. I can only compare him to LeBron James. Whatever is still pushing them, you
and
don't
of course,
know,
he's somebody who's soon making 40.
Yeah,
so
LeBron, I think, turns 40.
He's already 40.
He turned 40. Yeah. What fuels them is a lot different. They want to create a legacy that will never be matched. Yeah, and when you're chasing something that obscure, in the NBA they describe it as the ghost, because LeBron is chasing a ghost in Michael Jordan. What Ronaldo is chasing in the game is a legacy where someone will never have to compare him again to anything. So I don't think his hunger will cease. One of the challenges maybe will be his body, but the condition that he's put his body through, and I think the intelligence with which he plays, you can watch him, and in a game maybe he's taken contact twice. Yeah, he's gone down to the floor twice. It still looks as neat as the subs. Yeah, all those things are deliberate. And if you think about awards and titles, when FIFA and all were not giving him as many as he wanted, there's that allegation of Globe Soccer Awards created by a company linked to his agent, George Mendes. One of the things I was reading about Globe Soccer earlier this year, and I found it very funny that every year they create some kind of title, some kind of award to give him when he's not the scorer, the greatest scorer, when he's not the best player, because he wasn't the best player last year, where they gave
then it was
Vinicius
the
Junior.
best player in Middle East or something.
Yeah, they gave him best player in Middle East. They create something. Yeah, maybe when he retires, they'll create the best player who is retired in the last 5 years.
Well, they have a lifetime achievement award. Those awards that the real Ferdinands keep on winning every now and then. But Ismail, we get wind down. I'll just put you to task. Of course, I know Ronaldo won't be number one, but just rank for us your top 5 greatest footballers of all time.
And you may think Ronaldo, but neither will Pele. And I say mine. Mine.
Exactly yours.
Mine. 1, Diego Armando Maradona. The man who comes from Echisugu of Buenos Aires. Born in the most impoverished neighborhood with sewer lines passing under the house, and became the star that he became, with a character that you cannot forge, you cannot even act. Lived in his own world, totally different, a non-conformist. For me, that has got to be number 1, Diego Maradona. Number 2, Johan Cruyff. Didn't watch him play. I've watched a lot of video of what Cruyff did. And like many who are there in the 70s, had Cruyff gone to the World Cup in 1978, because he refused to go, because Argentina was under dictatorship, and he had adopted a political inclination where he was removing a dictator in 78. So the thing of removing dictators is not new.
Did start yesterday.
And he chose not to go, so Argentina won. And
they beat the Dutch in the final.
Yeah, they beat the Dutch in the final. Even without Cruyff, the Dutch got to the final. But with Cruyff, they should have won. And that generation of Dutch players should have won a lot more titles, including the Euros that they did not win, the ones they lost to Germany, I think 1976. So Johan Cruyff, for the things he did. The third one, Lionel Messi. The thing with him is that I knew Messi before he kicked a ball. There used to be a program called FIFA Football Mondial. It used to screen on UTV and then WBS later on. So I think the year was how old is Messi now? It was 2000.
37 now, 38, around that.
2002 or 3, yeah, which is 22 years ago, before he even played for Barcelona B. FIFA were profiling the best players to come. And on that FIFA Football Mondial, they went and interacted with the 15 or 14-year-old Messi.
Then at La Masia or not?
Then at La Masia. And the things I saw in that video, I kept on saying, when is this guy growing up? They profiled about the future stars of the game. That FIFA documentary. I don't know why FIFA removed that show.
Was it their production, really?
But it had the hallmark of FIFA Football Mondial.
I remember that show.
They profiled 10 players. Wallahi, I only remember Messi. And there were others. That to show you that all the other 10 they profiled failed in that program, or did not have brilliant career like Messi did. Now, Messi was destined to be the greatest player before he kicked a ball at the top level. And this is before he even made the Barcelona B team.
Because I first watched him at that Under-20 World Cup in the Netherlands, where they played Nigeria in the final.
Yeah.
Him against Obi Mikel and all that. And he was very exceptional.
And that is, that tournament comes later that year. Yeah, in 2003. Eventually, Argentina go on and win. I think beat Nigeria in the final 1-0.
There were more than Messi scored 2 goals in that fight. Should have been 3-1 or something. Because I remember he scored 2 goals in that final.
And Di Maria, I think, scored the other.
Then Aguero was also part of the team.
And then eventually, we go on and win the Olympic medal in 2004 in Athens. Yeah. And that was a start. But I watched Messi before I watched him. So that he eventually goes and leaves the career, it's not even enough to mention the numbers. Before you see the numbers, you see the player with your eyes and you're thinking, wow, how can someone be this good? Number 4, there must be a German player. Abasajja ababonyabonyeza nyaje eti.
Who has been the best German player of our generation?
I think the one, if it's just football watching, is Michel Ballack. His ability on the ball was exceptional. If you compare, the others were all what you call
our
a
minds
mechanic.
have been corrupted so much that when you want to think about the best or the greatest, you're like, who won the World Cup and was good? Like people have taken the discussion in that direction.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Johan Cruyff. Yeah, and he didn't win, and for me is my second. The fourth, Ronaldo Luis Nazario da Lima.
That guy, Jesus.
And I watched an interview of Sidlo. Sidlo is one of the best writers on Spanish football. He's an Englishman. And in all the things he mentioned, I quote, he said, if only he tried. Because according to Sidlo, who watched the boy come through from PSV, won the Ballon d'Or at the age of 18 in the Dutch league before he went to Barcelona, is that Ronaldo was the worst trainer. Da Lima was
even
the worst
trainer. Even his teammates say so.
Hated training, but when the game comes up, the best number 9, you mentioned at the start that the game, when someone who scores the goal is very important. And people will even, may only equate his career to winning the World Cup and then the injuries thereafter. But you see, this guy was on the Brazilian team in 1994 at the World Cup.
Much as he didn't play,
but he was part of the team. And thereafter, goes to PSV Eindhoven. Maybe that's what makes Bobby Robson one of the greatest coaches England has ever seen. He signs this kid at 17, and he goes and shatters all records in the Dutch league.
Actually, in the Dutch league, I think he scored more goals than the games he played. The same record Ronaldo has at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Like he has more goals than games.
Yeah, he plays one season at PSV, wins the Ballon d'Or, shatters every number. And this is not Italy or Spain. And at the time, you could argue the strongest leagues in the world were Italy and Germany, especially Italy, that attracted the best players after, I think, post-80s, after attracting Marco van Basten post-1988. So Ronaldo goes and does things that no one, and this team and league also had Romario, has had some of the greatest players. So Ronaldo da Lima, Nazario,
I personally believe he was only played as a center forward because they lacked in that position, and it was exceptional.
Yeah.
But I believe he's one player who would play in any position offensively, and he would still excel in that position because of his ability to play football, not only to score goals. And according to Mourinho, yes, the training, the laziness, and all that, but I believe the injuries didn't do him
a lot of good. Yeah, especially that first knee injury in 2000. Yeah, and of course, there are things with lifestyle. He loved his party,
like all Brazilians.
Like all Brazilians do. There's actually a story where he goes into the red night district. It's called red light district. Yeah, these are places where prostitutes are. So he goes and negotiates with one, and this guy was actually a man.
Ooh.
Yeah, who was dressed. Called I think transvestites, was dressed as a woman. So Ronaldo pays, and then she shows up in the room, and is actually a man. It's a very interesting story that I read about Ronaldo. So an exceptional one. Another one that I felt belongs right there. Number 5 is that boy Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho. Yeah.
Because I always tell people, Ronaldinho burst onto the scene. Okay, people had watched him earlier, but like for the world to get to see and recognize him was in 2002 going into the World Cup.
Yeah.
4 years later, in 2006, he's signing out.
Yeah.
Like in a space of 4 years, he's signing out, and you're like,
maybe certain things are not supposed to be there for long. Okay, there are people who argue they had watched him in the Confederations Cup in 1999. Yeah, the Confederations Cup before that.
He's still...
And then when Brazil, I think, won an under-20 World Cup in the late 90s, Ronaldinho was part of that. But I think the difference is that what makes Ronaldinho one of the greatest players of all time is that the game looks strenuous when you see players trying, because the reward is so huge and the price of failure is also so huge. But none of that bothered him. He came out and played in the manner in which we played our dodge and score. Yeah, he just came and enjoyed the game with a smile, beats a player, plays this. He never looked like there was effort. He never looked like there was concentration. He never looked like he was trying.
But things happened.
Things were happening. People were falling over. The dance, that goal against Chelsea. How audacious. How do you even try that in a Champions League game?
Okay,
that meant everything.
I know that is his goal, but for me now, every time you think about Ronaldinho, I remember the Rivaldo goal against England in the World Cup. The things that he did to Gerrard and Postcos before passing that ball.
Yeah.
I just wish it was him who scored the goal. Unfortunately, he was only assisting.
It's only on their side, but Ronaldinho, amazing. There's also a goal he scored against Athletic Bilbao. Yeah, coming off the left, and I think beat about 3 players. But I think Ronaldinho made football joyful to watch. That you watch the game, you're waiting for a goal, you want your team to win, but Ronaldinho made it so joyful that sometimes football was became a bit like a concert. Yeah, like the same way you go to watch Asher Raymond slide or Neo or Chris Brown or those who had a chance to watch Michael Jackson at the peak of his powers of Smooth Criminal in 1985. Now Ronaldinho was every bit, perhaps for me, the most joyful footballer football has ever produced.
This is a Cristiano Ronaldo show, but I think we need to give Isma a 6th spot for him to have
Ronaldo number 7. If you give me 6, then it becomes
who's your 6th?
And you can imagine, I support Argentina, but I have a lot of admiration. You notice in the top 5, I mentioned 2 Argentines.
Messi and Maradona.
Yeah, Messi and Maradona, and 2 Brazilians. Maybe that's where the game belongs.
No, without a doubt, that's where the game belongs. And while FIFA has tried their level best to put Messi out there as the greatest, especially this generation has seen, UEFA are also not doing a very bad job in recognizing Cristiano Ronaldo. And you'd expect them, the power they have with the media and all that, to have their campaign probably making more noise than the FIFA campaign of Lionel Messi. But it's not the case. Well, this show has come a little bit early. I don't know whether it is Isma's prayer, but it is my prayer that we get to see Cristiano Ronaldo score his 1,000th goal, career goal. He's on 923. He is 77 goals away and already 40
years. Yeah, because I don't have a decoder where I watch a lot of Spanish games. It's rather the Saudi Arabian League games. There used to be a friend of mine in Luzira who had...
Let me tell you, when he gets to 99 and the next game is scoring 1,000, we shall watch, even if he has not scored in the next 3 or 4 games, the whole world will watch those
I've had a chance to watch few. I've only watched actually 1 game since he went to Saudi. I've only watched highlights of
In the 360 plus days, he has been 39 years. He has scored 50 goals.
And if you score those at 22, you're regarded as one of the best scorers in the game.
I just hope this form continues and we'll get to the World Cup when he's about 2 or 3 goals away from
then he scores it at the World Cup.
Then he scores it probably at the biggest stage, probably the last World Cup that he will be.
Someone actually recently asked me, "Hey, Saudi ngabazanye mpira mingi," because every time he has seen a Ronaldo.
Because they have the King's Cup, they have the league, but they also do have their own Champions League.
Yeah, because the latest 2 goals he scored were in the Champions League. Where I think they are 3rd in the table. Al Hilal are top. Al Hilal,
none of them were penalties, by the way. Because every time I get a notification of him scoring, when I'm opening my score, I'm praying it's not a penalty.
I actually have a notification of Ronaldo.
I don't have for Al Nassr, I have for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So every time he scores,
I have a few things. There is one for Liverpool on my phone. There is Lakers. Then there is Ronaldo, because I want to be part of the occasion. Then there is Inter Miami, not Messi. So whenever Google, you can, when they pop up, then you say interested. So every time something happens, they throw you that.
I have notifications of all the English Premier League games, but for some reason, I only got a notification once when there's a goal in the Manchester United game. I don't know why I don't get notifications for the other games. And 7 out of 10 times, United have always considered first.
No, you'll get one when Man United is relegated.
Oh, God. Anyway, we need to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. You can let us know in the comment section, where do you rank Cristiano Ronaldo amongst the greatest that have ever played at the game. Isma has his a top five. Ronaldo does not. Cristiano is not in
but
there.
But can keep changing, eh?
But it can keep changing. But you can let us know where you rank him, especially if when rather he is on that mission of scoring 1,000 career goals. Thank you for watching us, and yes, catch us again in the next episode.